Hello, welcome. Really looks great in here, don't you think? So on this show, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Usually, I'm talking to you about theory. We're talking about all this stuff. But in this week's show, or in this particular episode, I'm going to instead start from a different entry point. I'm going to start from songs. So I really love listening to music on Spotify. It's really convenient, I think, how Spotify tells you, your top songs at the end of the year. So I've basically collated many of those into one playlist. So the past 6 years. And oddly, I tried to make it not add duplicates, but it still added the duplicates. But these are the things that we deal with, right? Anyway, let's go straight in. So we're starting here with my top songs from 2024. Unfortunately, be in order later on. But we'll start off with You Got It by Roy Orbison. So, usually, if you want to understand why I like a song so much, it has to do with the lyrics. I'm interested in the themes, the connection, the specific poetic images that are introduced. So, for example, I've been riffing all day on. It does because I was playing this playlist, but they talk about, the skies are blue and something picks me up when I'm feeling blue, which is for me immediately connected with, the idea of permanent blue from the Grimes song Delete Forever. And there's a lot of blues. I'm spacing on it right now. But anyway, let's start off with Roy Orbison. So basically, this song is about how, like, you have a lover or something. And basically, the thing is, you'll do anything for them, like anything they want or need. Like, you're at their beck and call. So it's funny because in this day and age, like, this is considered very big, like, simp energy or something, I think. I think people would be like, Roy Orbison, like, you need to, like, set some boundaries, right? But it's not supposed to be what to say. There's a lot of different ways that you can put it, but I think fundamentally that is why the song is so compelling to me. Is there's this idea of like it's happening. For example, this sort of sentiment for me is connected to we might come across it. I don't know how soon, but the song "No Quarter," because in the song "No Quarter" by Led Zeppelin, it's all about how like they carry news that must get through to build the dream for me and you. Like they tread the path where no one goes. So let's see here, coming in at 95, right? No Quarter by Led Zeppelin. So like, that's another thing where it's like, well, what do my people need? Not just like a lover or something like, oh, I'm like, you're such a great woman. I'm gonna like do this for you. It's like, I mean, this is obviously not like about a child or something, but it's basically about the theme of love. You could say devotion, which opens up, is that Bhakti? Bhakti yoga? No. Yeah, devotion. Right. So, like, but you could be devoted to a lot of things, from people that you care about to concepts, your sacred cows, basically. And so it's funny because what we need to do is to sacrifice, Ben Swibelson talks about we need to be knee deep in sacred cow blood, right? But on the other hand, it's also a fundamental gesture not to do that, right? To be willing to sacrifice everything else in order to, whatever, deal with the prime directive. Anyway. So every time I look into your lovely eyes, I hear loving eyes. I see a love that money just can't buy. So this is referencing the Beatles, but also, just describing the inadequacy of mammon, right? So I mean, we can go all the way back to the Defense of Poetry by Percy Shelley, and where he's talking about freaking mammon, right? Poetry and the principle of self, of which money is the visible incarnation, are the God and mammon of the world. So poetry is God, and the principle of self is the mammon, and the visible incarnation of the principle of self is money, right? So money is not, money cannot get you love, right? And so fundamentally, circling all the way back to our serious business topics, right, of distrust. Actually, that just came up on Naked Capitalism. which, I'm sorry for Naked Capitalism posting. I don't believe in capitalism, just to make that clear. I don't even really believe in this, if you want to, but that's a whole other story. But, they have a whole thing here about political distrust, right? So the Hobbesian trap, right? They even have a trap here. But anyway, we're getting, my influence is spreading. Like, there's no question about that. So anyway, also Adam. Anyway, the point is, like the problem to political distrust, for example, is not money. Pay somebody to, like, if we're all immortal, right? And it's like, how are we going to, like, prevent each other from killing each other? It's like, you pay somebody not to kill you for a million years, right? That's the kind of problem. So that's where, I think this eroticism, this idea of love, there's so many freaking love songs here. Like, prepare. But, like, the point of these love songs for me is not like, oh, like, I have a sweetheart and, like, this song is expressing, like, how I feel about them. No, like, these songs are like, they're titans, right? These songs are eldritch abominations. They are larger than your little relationship, right? Unless your relationship attains to, creative heights and depths, which, anyway, these songs represent. So that's why, in the category epic poetry, which is something, my man Shelley here, an epic or dramatic personage is understood to wear, the vices of his contemporaries around his soul, as he may the ancient armor or the modern uniform around his body, whilst it is easy to conceive of a dress more graceful than either. The beauty of the internal nature cannot be so far concealed by its accidental vesture, but that the spirit of its form shall communicate itself to the very disguise, and indicate the shape it hides from the manner in which it is worn. A majestic form and graceful motions will express themselves through the most barbarous and tasteless costume. Few poets of the highest class have chosen to exhibit the beauty of their conceptions in its naked truth and splendor, and it is doubtful whether the alloy of costume, habit, etc., be not necessary to temper this planetary music for mortal ears. Oh my God, you love it. So Milton, right? Percy Shelley is like, all these old guys are like the epic poets. But, like, these are the epic poets of our time, right? And it's not as simple as, like, it is the people who are listed here, but, like, this is the shit people know. Anyway, and it's poetry, right? I mean, there's no doubting it's poetry. Anyway, one look from you, I drift away, connects to the song Waves. I'm slowly drifting. I pray that you are here to stay. I mean, for me, this is opening up to Epictetus. This is the simp energy, where it's like, no. Like, if basically, what is he? Epictetus is like, if you want your loved ones to live forever, you're a fool, right? Oh no, we don't want to switch to tab. No. All right, we're gonna get there. But basically, like, Epictetus just like lays down the law. He's like, if you want, oh no. It's too big. It's too big. LOL. If you wish your children and your wife and your friends to live forever, you are stupid. For control of things which you cannot, right? Although, like, within my whole technology, like, that's the whole thing. Yeah, they might die, but maybe you'll still see them again. Anyway, and in that sense, you do live forever. But whatever. The point is, like, shit happens. Like, people aren't, like, if this is just like, oh yeah, like, this person is gonna, like, if it's like you want to give them anything they want so that they will stay around you, that's toxic, right? Like, that's not the point, right? Dhamma language, the good way to see it is that it's like, okay, you can pray. So this is also, this is another rhyme here. So away, pray, stay, right? But so pray is an interesting verb where it's like, I'm not begging you. I'm not trying to argue, right? I'm not, it's just like, I pray. It's between me and God or something. I pray that it's God's will that, we can spend time together, right? Okay, fine. But if it turns out not to be the case, then lot of luck, gentlemen. You got, anyway. But still, like, you can be devoted. The crucial thing is you can be devoted to something even if it is not devoted to you. And that is, it's okay, right? It's not just like, oh, you're pathetic, right? This is actually very important because this is the kind of thing which goes into like a deadlock or a Hobbesian trap situation where nobody is, we think about it as like you want to be the bigger person. But I think actually this framing is not helpful. It makes it seem like a bad thing in some way. It makes it seem undesirable. It makes it seem like effort you're making for somebody else, which compounds the problem where you feel like you're already doing too much for them. But anyway, every time I hold you, I begin to understand. Okay, so understanding, right, is an inadequate concept. We don't really understand, but you begin to understand. That's interesting. Okay, then everything about you tells me I'm your man. I mean, we should almost like, this is the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, disregard this line. Because, like, what is this actually saying, right? It means it's saying I'm yours. So does that imply that you're mine? Because I don't know. Sometimes in these songs they say something like that, and sorry, my eye is so itchy. But basically, it's like, oh, and did I share the? I think. Oh my phone's going off. All right. So, Mofrican, you got it, right? So I'm your man. We're not really a fan of this construction. So I mean, it comes down to the whole question of like possessiveness. And actually, of course, this is a very important thing. But we do have respect, right? Jainism has non-possession. This is basically one way of coming at this idea. Non-possession is like pretty cool. So basically, and it's similar to like non-attachment, hold with an open hand, right? And so, yeah. But then everything about you tells me it's like we're perfect complement idea. The way I would reframe this, not to reject this line, but to just really reinterpret it radically, is the classic move, which I'll make many times in these videos, is that you're reinterpreting the love song as a prayer, right? So instead of saying like this is about another person, and so like when I when I hold you, wait, is this doing the thing? Okay, yeah. So when I'm you, right, as the person, like I'm yours personally. Instead, it's like saying the lover is the world, right? And so when I hold you, it's like when I hold the world. He's got the whole world in his hands, right? So, and also it's like a way of saying like me and this existence were meant for each other. Like I am meant to be here. And this can be connected to a sense of purpose, but it's like this feels right, right? And so instead of thinking about it like another person is making you feel right, of course, good company is the point, right? So it is associated with other people, but like basically all of us are partaking of this conceit of incarnation, and like in the way in which that happens, like there's no question that we're meant to be here. It's hard to explain. I want to open up into compatibilism, because for me everything, and also occasionalism. So basically the idea is with occasionalism is the absolute causes everything. With compatibilism, it's that free will and determinism go together. So basically everything is made by everything is a sovereign choice by the absolute or whatever. And we're back, of course, to Leela. But so in that sense, that choice is both contingent, right? It's a choice, right? There's a choice to like make this timeline with the Triangle Trade and the Beatles and Genghis Khan and Joan of Arc and pseudo Dionysus and Hitler and all that stuff, right? That we have, right? That was a choice by God to like design the timeline that way. But at the same time, that makes it necessary now for us, right? Like it's necessary, but it was also a choice. And so the ultimate mystery is our choice. And so understanding that, we're back to the Matrix, you already made the choice, now understand it, whatever it is. Well, so I'm reading that into this line, that's my reinterpretation. Because if it's just like, I'm looking at you and, I just belong to you, and like, it's just, it's a lot of pressure to put on everything. Like that it's like, oh, anyway. It's also similar to lines from, I guess it's Oh Boy, by Buddy Holly. But I mean, this sort of thing is rife, right? In love songs of like, I'm yours, Elena. But so again, like if you think about it with God, the possessiveness, the mutual possessiveness is not what is being expressed with yours. It's more so a sense of belonging. And so between two people, right, there's the erotic politics, I guess, right? Of like to assert that, we belong together, like that's in a way controlling, right? Because if it's like we belong together, oh, don't talk to other people, Whereas, if you're thinking like, no, I belong to this world, like, well, very similar to beginning of No Country for Old Men, right? Where he's like, man's got to put his soul at hazard, right? He's got to say, I'll be part of this world, right? Like that is sort of what this is like. So I live my life to be with you. I live my life to be here. No one can do the things you do. So like that's to say there's a certain pleasure that accrues to each of our individual experiences of this particular timeline, to the extent that there is a timeline. So that it has to do with our belonging. So like, of course, also bad things, now I'm sure we'll come to, I knew you were trouble when you walked in or something, because it's like, took me places I've never been, till you put me down. Right. So yeah, see right here, 63, right between 4 a.m. and it ain't me, anyway. So that's basically like, the highs and the lows. And it's not to say like, oh, it's so worth it, this is the best timeline. It's just that like this is our experience, right? We belong here. And this is just, yeah. So I'm describing ineffable things. This is very symbolic exchange coded. This is very deathbed thoughts coded. This is very, finally I see, is very altered state of consciousness coded. Anyway, anything you want, anything you need at all. I'm glad to give my love to you. I know you feel the way I do. So, in some scenario, like this is just basically you don't say this at the beginning, right? This is once, things are a bit established, but like, glad to give my love. Of course, give my love is basically, could be construed as a way of fucking, right? My love being the phallus or whatever, and I'm giving it to you. I mean, you're taking it, right? So yeah, so I guess this is very consistent because there is an aggression. There's toward the love object as well as to the divine, as well as to the whole environment. It's like, I'm here, like, I'm going to take initiative, and like that will impose costs on others. And like I'm going to construe it as I'm giving my love, right? So we are now thinking of Lay My Love by Brian Eno, where he's talking about a failing nation. And it's like, well, here I come with all my love. And it's like, well, you better get freaking ready because anyway. So let's move on to the next song. You Drive Me Crazy by Britney Spears. This was my number 2 song of the year, which is just tickles me so much. But it's a great song, right? Oops, I Did It Again has also historically been one that I listen to a lot, but for whatever reason, You Drive Me Crazy got me going. Okay. Baby, I'm so into you. You got that something. What can I do? Right? So it's like you got that something. Right? So it's like not even trying to describe. So this is sort of like the lingo. So like this is again a way that poetry and prose are melting into each other. When we say something, you have riz, right? It's like, what are we saying? Like it's not in the word. It's something that's supposed to be understood outside of the linguistic. Anyway. Baby, you spin me around. The earth is moving, but I can't feel the ground. So spin me around is like dancing. Earth is moving. I can't feel the ground. So it's like you're in orbit, right? I mean, this song is very space coded. Like the whole thing here is like that they're in space, like in the thing, right? Oh no, wait, that's Oops, I Did It Again. My bad. Anyway, every time you look at me, my heart is jumping. It's easy to see. Loving you means so much more than anything I ever felt before. Like this line is like a machete. Like in my opinion, like this line, what to say? Like this makes the song, like in a way, like it's very good regardless, but like the whole is that means so much more than anything I ever felt before. So I've talked before about, you're pulling up the exposure on an image. So it's like you're just realizing that this love and devotion you feel, it's like things that appear to be costs are now just not costs. Like, oh, I'm a firefighter. Like, there's a child on the second floor. Like, I'm going, right? And the question of like, oh, is it a risk? Like, am I gonna inhale smoke? It's like, that's not the question, right? Like, and of course, a firefighter you wouldn't necessarily say they love the person they're going in to get, but it's like, imagine again, it's not a firefighter, it's your loved one. It's like that guy who recently climbed up the building for his mom. And then he didn't even need to be up there. Like, what? But anyway, like for this guy, and he also was injured. He had broken his hip, right? But like, this is the kind of shit where it's like, okay, what the fuck is happening? It's similar to like the drones, it's a collapse of Syria, all these very worrying things, but they're very eldritch, right? We're slipping into the dream time, right? As Baudrillard would say. Uh-oh. Crashed. No problem. Is this still going? All right. But so basically, like this guy, right? Like climbed up this building. Anyway, so this is like eldritch. It's like, oh my God. Like the love is real is the point, right? And so I'm comparing it to right here. Loving you means so much more than anything I ever felt before. So I mean, love for your mother, a parent, like that would be something that would happen pretty early on or whatever. But like the point is that what's the point? Like there's a certain sense of affection, bond, duty, as well as pleasure, which is just like it's making things recede. It's like it's just so clear what needs to be done, and you're gonna do it. And the question of like, is there a cost? Like in this frame, it doesn't even make sense. Like it's funny. Like it's something that I said to somebody one time. Like, what's funny is that some people will think that this was a costly signal. Like,